In my first look at gameplay performance on Basite Linux, I already touched on a few visual aspects of Mafia the Old Country's tech at the end. Now that I've finished the game and had much more time with its use of Unreal Engine 5, I'd like to discuss a few topics, some of which I already covered in my first look and new information I found during gaming. The following video footage was primarily captured on Windows 11 for comparison with FSR 4, while some clips are from Basite. I am sad that game developers continue forcing their stupid boot intro videos on players with no easy option to disable or skip them after the first start. I absolutely accept watching them when I run the game for the very first time. It's part of the excitement and immersion for me, but not every time. I want to play your game, dear devs, not watch your damn intros. To get rid of this, I had to install a mod that is available on Nexusmods, and after game companies wasted time with their intros, they made me waste even more time by presenting me with nonsensical screens that I had to acknowledge. 2K took this so far as to constantly nag me without exception to create a 2K account so that I can earn myself a car skin every single time. And after that, one of gaming's most vile and dangerous diseases made its appearance, the splash screen, which prompted me to press a button to finally prove the game my worthiness for an audience with the main menu. And it's not like it's quick and responsive so that I could blast through it. Oh no, it took a while for the prompt to gradually and smoothly fade in. I just wanted to play a Mafia story, not beat the Dark Souls boss of game boot up sequences. Take a look at this clip from Kena Bridge of Spirits, which I reinstalled just for this video. Look how fast it goes from clicking the icon in EGS to actually playing the game. What a mind-blowing concept! Kena was a great game, by the way. This is another topic I always highlight in my gameplay test videos. Many developers fail to add preview screenshots or a live preview in the graphics options menu. In my first testing, I noted that Mafia had just another standard UE5 graphics settings menu, but I must correct myself here. It does have a preview, and it's hidden behind the C key. Pressing C while having a graphics option selected made the whole settings menu disappear except for that one option, allowing experimentation with the option in full screen. This was a great implementation, if just a bit hidden. In my Basite Linux gameplay experience, I noted that light shafts piercing through ambient fog in the early game were of a low quality, and I could not find a setting to change that. Well, I found it. It was the shadow quality. Naturally, even the high setting wasn't enough to create a pleasing image. If you find the quality at high distracting, you have no choice but to increase the shadow quality to epic or down to medium, which mostly gets rid of the whole effect, which is unfortunate because it costs a lot of performance or visual fidelity. However, from what I remember, there weren't that many missions that utilized this type of effect for its atmosphere, and even then, it was mainly tangential and depended on how I moved through the level. I think it's okay to reduce the shadow quality to high and live with it, and if it bothers you, consider increasing the shadow quality only when it's really needed and enjoy the higher performance in the rest of the game. None of the upscaling options available to AMD users was a one-size-fits-all solution. All of them had some idiosyncrasies that can make it or break it for you. On Windows, Mafia the Old Country officially supports FSR by means of AMD's Adrenalin software. I already showed in my first look on Basite Linux that XeSS or FSR3 produced a softer image than Epic's TSR. Therefore, I will focus on a TSR to FSR4 comparison in this video to save some time. In still shots, TSR and FSR rendered a good image. The situation changed in motion. TSR produced a more stable rendition of foliage and the ground texture. Oddly enough, FSR4 balance looked better than FSR4 quality. This could be an acceptable trade-off because I found that in some cutscenes, FSR4 had a considerable benefit in rendering hair shadows on a character's face. TSR could create blocky and distracting artifacts similar to those in grass, whereas FSR FSR 4 cleanly resolved the shadows and produced a softer, more pleasing look. It wasn't apparent every cutscene and heavily depended on the lighting and the character's hair. Since there were so many cutscenes in this game, I don't recall which one, which makes it tricky to find footage as proof, so please take this with a grain of salt. But it doesn't matter anyway, because there was a catch, a game-breaking catch in my eye. FSR 4 was absolutely unusable in dark scenes. It generated a ghosting effect that would have made the first LCD monitors with response times measured in seconds blush. This made enabling FSR 4 a non-starter. While the overall image quality was okay, the dark level smearing made the game unplayable. It was too distracting. My upscaler of choice was TSR at the highest quality my system could handle. Nvidia users may have better luck with DLSS of course, but I can attest that. The performance was generally pretty good considering the visuals. I was prepared for a traversal stutter fast during the driving sequences in the open world. Luckily, this was somewhat well managed, but I also play on a beastly processor. Make no mistake, there is stuttering in this game during driving and in and out of cutscenes, but I didn't think it was as bad as Titan Quest 2 Early Access or the recent Oblivion remaster. I suppose it depends heavily on the speed at which you move through the environments. I took my sweet time, except for the driving sequences, and during shootouts it felt good. Mafia also recently received a patch that fixes a severe stuttering issue transitioning from cutscenes into gameplay. In short, performance is good based on the game's visuals, but stuttering can and will make itself noticeable. The weaker your CPU, the worse the effect. Being available on consoles, Mafia of course supports controllers. What it doesn't support is customizing the control scheme. This was especially infuriating since the default button mapping didn't line up with other games. Evade was A instead of B in duels. This is another area where I want game developers to improve. Can't be rocket science to let players customize the button mapping on a controller, can it? And if developers finally do implement it, please do it on all platforms, not just the PC, because PC players are used to customization. Everybody could and should benefit from this. Overall, this implementation of an Unreal Engine 5 game is mostly a success on PC when compared to the previously mentioned examples. And yes, I explicitly say PC because the console version does not fare as well according to Digital Foundry. I'll leave a link in the video description. Mafia's biggest problem was the upscaling solution on AMD hardware. FSR 4, with its fancy machine learning capabilities, wasn't up to the task yet, producing less stable foliage and ground textures, while smearing and ghosting in dark scenes that made me believe I was drunk AF. It was a step up from FSR 3 in image sharpness, however, that didn't help if in some scenes its output was unplayable. As I already showed in another video, Mafia the Old Country was very playable and enjoyable on Linux. The top-end FPS were missing compared to Windows, but there were still plenty of FPS to be as smooth as a mafiosi's greased hairdo. Unfortunately, there is still no free ride option that would simplify conducting further benchmarks. Therefore, I'll leave it at the one I made a couple of weeks ago. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.